Panthers and the Lightning. The Lightning they look good. I think the acquisition of Jake Gensel is slowly but surely proving its worth. Obviously, it takes a little bit of time for guys to gain chemistry, but I think, based off of the small sample size, that power play unit with Gensel on it looks really good. I think Hedman looks good. He had a bit of a down year. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before that, when Sergachev was kind of supplanting him on power play 1, but he's reclaimed his spot there, and he looks good. And obviously Vasilevsky is Vasilevsky. The Wings look good. I think they have a good shot at making the playoffs. I personally think the biggest question mark is going to be their goaltending. I believe they acquired Cam Talbot, and from my, brief viewing of the game, their goaltending hasn't looked terrible. But yeah, obviously still young, but I like the Red Wings, and I think they will find a way to squeak in the playoffs. Senators don't look terrible either. I think they are a great young team, but I don't think they'll make the playoffs, obviously. I think that this is going to be a developing year for them. Hopefully they get close to the playoffs, make it interesting for their fans, but I just don't think they're really there yet. I do like the acquisition of Allmark, though. I think he's a great goaltender. Yeah, great goaltender. He signed, I think, the identical contract as Jeremy Swayman in Boston. So, that's kind of nice considering they were really good buddies down there. But, yeah, anyway. The Toronto Maple Leafs are kind of struggling at the gate. None of their big dogs. Nylander's playing alright, but Austin Matthews, for his standards, is really playing poorly. Same with Mitch Marner. John Tavares is alright too. He's a bit older, but you really want Austin Matthews and Marner to be up there. And right now they're not. And obviously goaltending is a big question mark for them. Joseph Woll was injured pretty early on in the season. I don't think he didn't even play a game. So they're oscillating between Stolars, and I believe it was a Hilteby, but I could be mistaken. But Stolars looked good. And Woll's first game back was yesterday, as of the time of recording this video, and he was absolutely shelled. So, yeah, a bit of a weird start for the Leafs. I think they figure it out. And I obviously think they make playoffs, but yeah, not the best time to be a Leafs fan, at least. The Sabres, well, tough time to be a Sabres fan. They don't look good. The first 2 games of their season against the Devils out in Europe, I can't remember exactly where, wasn't the best start to their season. I don't know. I think there's a lot of potential here, but I just don't see them taking that step. They're probably going to stay here, kind of towards the bottom of the standings. Boston, I think they looked alright. Lindholm and Zadorov were, some key offseason acquisitions that they really need to pan out, and I think for the most part, Zadorov has looked alright. Lindholm looked good at the start of the season, but he's tapered off a wee bit since. I don't know, Marchand hasn't really playing that well. And Pasta has been playing well, but I don't know, I think you need more than just Pasta to be popping off for this team to make playoffs and go for another deep run, so hopefully they can figure it out. I think they really need Lindholm to come into his own. Obviously it takes time and it's still early, but I would like to see that. I think his type of injury past, it's just terrible to see, but hopefully he comes back soon. The doctors say sometime around December, early January, potentially. So we'll see. Unfortunately for the Canadians, it's not a great start. I think they have a lot of promise, and I actually thought that they would be, fighting potentially for a playoff spot. They might not make it, but I think they should be in the hunt. I think they're good enough to be in the hunt for the playoffs, but we'll see. Samuel Montembeault has been playing phenomenal, but we'll see. Moving down to the Metropolitan division, we have the Devils and the Rangers vying for that first seed spot. Both teams, I think, are going to make the playoffs. Devils finally have a great goaltending tandem in Markstrom and Jake Allen, and obviously the Rangers have Shesterkin. Both teams have a great defensive core anchoring their backhand. I would argue I like New Jersey's just a little bit more when they're healthy than New York's. I don't know why. To be honest, I just hate the Rangers and I hate Jacob Trouba, so maybe I am a little biased there, but I just like the Devils just a little bit more than the Rangers on the back end. On the front end, I think the Rangers have the edge in terms of, firepower in their forward core. Then obviously I would give the Rangers the better goaltending of the two, but yeah, two really interesting teams. I think both are going to make the playoffs, and obviously I think the first ranking spot in the Met will go to one of them. Capitals. No, I don't think I really expected this. 5-1. I mean, if I'm a Capitals fan, I'm happy, but I think everyone knows that the real goal that they want to hit is Ovi breaking Wayne Gretzky's record. So I think, more than anything, I think as a Caps fan, that's something you want to see, and I think he's 40 goals away now, so it's probably not going to happen this season, but potentially it will happen next season. So we'll see. As a Caps fan, you may not be in cup contention, but I think being able to be a fan of a team that's about to break a historic milestone like Wayne Gretzky's goal record is something to be excited and look forward to. The Carolina Hurricanes I honestly think that, despite their lack of playoff success in recent years, I think they're still a deadly team. Really well coached, really structured team. It doesn't surprise me at all that people still consider them to be, in cup contention. I do think, however, that, compared to last year's squad, they're a little bit weaker, especially in the back end without Brady Shea. And, you have an aging Brent Burns. I believe I think he's 39. Yeah, he's getting up there. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, offensively they have, a few great young studs. I like Jarvis a lot. I think he's really underrated. Svechnikov has a ton of potential, but he's never really found a way to break into his game, so to speak. He's all had injuries, so we'll see. A lot of question marks surrounding the Canes, but I think they'll make the playoffs. Islanders. I mean, if I'm being honest, I just don't find them a super exciting team to watch. Like they're a good team. I could never really sit down and watch them play. I mean, their goaltenders are obviously a big question mark. Sorokin coming off back surgery, Varlamov. I mean, they're both good goalies, but you don't really know what you're gonna get, especially when it comes to the playoffs with them, which is unfortunate. terrible defensively. I have Eric Carlson cannot make a pass to save his life. Chris Letang is just absolutely a turnover machine, and having like both of them on the power play is just a recipe for disaster. They have no chemistry, and it just everything's just off. It's disappointing, especially when you have, you know, the talent that should theoretically lead to success, but it just doesn't. Well, at least we got to see Gino's 500th goal and Crosby's 1600th point, which is insane milestones in and of themselves. But you know, outside of those personal achievements, the team is just absolute trash. Like I need to see more from them, and they look terrible. I don't know if they need a coaching change or what, but the room just, the whole mood of the team is just horrendous. The Blue Jackets, obviously they've been through a ton over the offseason with the tragic passing of Johnny Gaudreau. I think, you know, considering everything that's happened, obviously it's shaken up the players a lot, but I think they're still putting forth a good effort. You know, when you're playing the Blue Jackets, it's not a pushover game, but unfortunately, I think it's going to be a few years where their young players are developing. I think they have a lot of talent. Fantilli looks really promising. And I think with Voronkov, oh gosh, who else do they have? They have a lot of young players. I'm probably missing a few good ones right now, but I think the future is bright for Columbus, but at the moment it's kind of a rebuild / development phase of their existence. The Philly Flyers, I'm surprised by their start. I thought they were a strong team ending out last season, but it's kind of fizzled away. The one bright spot has been Michkov. I think he's looked really great. Coming over from Russia, I would say it's a similar story to Kirill Kaprizov on the Minnesota Wild. So, you know, that's been a bright spot for them, but overall the Flyers, you know, obviously haven't had the start that they wanted. Especially in what will likely be a very close playoff race in the East. Every point matters, and I think if you're a Flyers fan, this is obviously not ideal, and I would be a little bit worried, especially when you have John Tortorella as your coach. Moving on to the West, we have the undefeated Winnipeg Jets. Absolute wagon of a team right now. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, it hasn't really translated into the playoffs. So I think for them, the question's going to be, you know, whether or not they can replicate this regular season success in the postseason. But yeah, to me, the Jets have always been a consistent playoff team. It's always been a question of whether or not they can make that push in the playoffs. So we'll see. The Minnesota Wild look great as well. Gustafsson, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but their goaltender looks phenomenal. And obviously with that young core in front of him, with Boldy and Marco Rossi and Kirill Kaprizov, like, they're a great young team. And then on the back end, they signed Brock Faber, and he's learning under the tutelage of Jared Spurgeon. I think, you know, there's a lot of great things happening in Minnesota. And I actually think they'll make the playoffs this year. Surprising or not, I think they will. The Stars are an absolute wagon as well. There's tons of great teams in the Central this year. It's going to be a killer division. Obviously, the Stars make the playoffs. Again, it's going to be similar to Winnipeg, whether or not they can make that push and bring home the cup. But we'll see. I really like all of the. I can't think of a single weak spot on the Stars. Like, their forward depth is insane. Their defense is shut down, capable. The defense can shut down, you know, the best players in the world, like McDavid, even though they didn't really do that last year. But, and you know, I have Jake Ottinger as a top 10 goalie easy in the league, so they really have all the pieces to we'll have to see, if they're able to translate that. The Blues. I don't think the Blues make the playoffs. They're in a weird kind of middle ground where they're not really rebuilding and they're not really making a push for the cup. It's really weird. But yeah, I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but obviously they're not an easy team to beat. Yeah, we'll see what happens with the Blues, but I don't think they'll make the playoffs. The Utah Hockey Club had a great start to the season, which is good because they need to attract fans and create a buzz, which I think they've done. Unfortunately, it looks like reality is catching up and they've been on a bit of a slide. But I do think, the future looks bright for them. A lot of young talent has slowly been emerging this season. You got Barrett Hayton, Dylan Gunther, Logan Cooley, Josh Doan, and then, unfortunately he's injured, but Sean Durzi looks really good as well. Like, there's so many great young players. I think the Utah Hockey Club, soon to be called the Utah Yeti, will be a powerhouse in the West for years to come. Maybe not this year, maybe not the next, but 3-4 seasons down the line, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Utah Yeti being one of the best teams in the West. The Colorado Avalanche have obviously had injury troubles to Landeskog, Lekanen, and Devon Taves, as well as the recovery of Nichushkin. So, missing 4 key stars like that has clearly impacted them, but nevertheless, they are still a 500 team. I think they will make the playoffs. Bit of a rocky start, but with the star power in that locker room and the experience behind the bench and on the bench, I should add, there's no doubt in my mind that they make the playoffs. And I think once they get everyone healthy, you gotta consider them up there with the Winnipeg Jets and the Dallas Stars of the division in terms of, being able to win the cup. The Hawks, again, obviously, this is a developing year for them. I like that they surrounded Bedard with a bit more of a potent supporting cast with the additions of Teuvo Teravainen in particular. They've looked okay. They've looked, it's going to be a competitive game when you play the Blackhawks, but again, as a Hawks fan, I don't think you're thinking you'll make the playoffs. I think you want to have, a more competitive year than last, but, looking at that team, you really can't think that it's going to be a playoff contending team at all. The Nashville Predators, I think, are probably the biggest surprise in the NHL. I mean, you add Steven Stamkos, you add Jonathan Marchessault, so you expect big things, and I mean, Stamkos has been horrendous, and it just, everything looks off. On paper, the team should be good, but on the ice, it just doesn't look like it's gelled. But yeah, we'll have to see if they can turn it around. Obviously, last year they went on that skid, and then they just turned it up. So, they're more than capable of righting the ship, but they need to figure out how to do it before it becomes too late. And moving into the Pacific Division with my favorite team, the Vancouver Canucks. Well, right now, unfortunately, the Flames are atop the division. They had a really hot start, but I want to say that they'll fizzle out in course. I don't think the Flames will make the playoffs, but I could very easily be wrong. I'd be very surprised if, game 60, we look at this again and we see them still atop the standing. I'd be very surprised. But yeah, they've had a great start. Obviously not what Flames fans were expecting, who knows, I could be wrong. The Vegas Golden Knights, they look good. Not really a surprise here. You got LTI, our legend, Mark Stone, out in full force. I give him another 3 games before he's magically out for the season, and then he's back for the playoffs, but who knows. But yeah, they look good. I think that'd be another tough out in the playoffs this year, and they make the playoffs without a doubt. They make the playoffs for sure. Kings, they look alright. I think the Kings make the playoffs too. Again, similar to Line, it was really sad to see Doughty go down with an injury. But yeah, I think the Kings will be fine. Brant Clark is doing a good job to kind of fill the void that Doughty left, so I think the Kings should survive this, and I think they will make the playoffs, but I really doubt they make it past the first or second round, even. Yeah, probably not the first round. Kraken, no way the Kraken make the playoffs. I mean, they're a weird team. I don't think they're in a rebuild right now. They're in like a developing stage, but I don't know. I really like Matty Beniers, and I think Shane Wright has all the potential in the world to be, the star that everyone thought he would have been at the draft, but then he fell to 5th. But we'll see. Again, I don't think Seattle will make the playoffs, but they're definitely a fun team to watch, and they make the games competitive. And my Vancouver Canucks, well, a bit of a shaky start, but we've kind of hit our groove. I think the biggest concern for us is goaltending and Elias Pettersson. Demko's injury is one of those lingering things that you can never be certain will ever fully heal. While Shilov's played his best in the playoffs, he hasn't looked that great in regular season. We've really been leaning on Lankinen, who has played excellent as of late, but I don't know how long he can continue that for. So yeah, I think goaltending is a big question mark. You need good goaltending, and we've been getting that, but it's just tough to say with someone who's unproven like Shilov's in the long run whether or not we can really rely on him. And for Pettersson, I mean, since signing his contract, I think there's some crazy stat where he's only scored like 1 even strength goal, and that's just shameful. I mean, we're paying him like 11.6 million, and he has, I think, like 1 even strength goal. It's just, I don't know. It's disappointing to watch him play. He looks flat. He doesn't look like he has any drive in him. But we'll see. I think the team still makes the playoffs. We have really, really good depth, and I think our third line with the addition of Kiefer Sherwood, it's killer. It looks great. Not to mention that even though we lost the door of our back end, got another boost with Forbort and Desharnais, 2 big bodies. But yeah, I think, a little bit of a rough start. Hopefully smooth sailing for a little bit. But I think, I'm really concerned obviously about Petey and the goaltending. And the Anaheim Ducks, well, I don't know, they're a good team. A good young team, I should actually specify. They won't make the playoffs, but I think it's really a make or break year for Trevor Zegras. I mean, he's really fallen off as of late, and I think he really needs to prove himself being that player that everyone thinks he can be. But yeah, we'll have to see. I think the reason why they picked Radko Gudas was to kind of nurture these, budding stars into the league. Cutter Gauthier, Mason McTavish, Trevor Zegras, so they have a ton of potential, but it's whether or not it will actually pan out is the question mark. But we'll see. Edmonton Oilers haven't really played that great. I wouldn't be concerned. I think they make the playoffs easily. Obviously a slow start. They had a slow start last season as well too, so I'm not worried at all for them. Obviously, as a Canucks fan, I would rather they not make the playoffs so that we wouldn't have to play them, but sometimes you can't always get what you want. So, yeah. Obviously for them, I think their biggest question mark is Stuart Skinner, but he just got a shutout against the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight, so he looks pretty good. I wouldn't be too worried, small sample size for the Edmonton Oilers, but I think they will slowly work their way back up to the top of the rankings. And last but not least, the San Jose Sharks, the last team in the NHL searching for their first win. I mean, they're not a bad team. They look good. I was watching them against, what was it against? Yeah, I think it was, what was it, Colorado. They looked good. Like, they have talented players. Toffoli, Grenland, well, I say it,